you go through these stretches where it's really hard and you don't always get a lot of positive feedback, but that these things happen, right? Like you see progress, you see something you've created add tremendous value. We have staff that are really passionate about what we do, and you have that sense of pride, and hopefully there's a growing money in the bank account. And so it has been shockingly hard. All the assumptions I had about running a business and I could do it, I was completely wrong. Uh, but here I am 5 years later, and we're still going and we're growing.
Welcome to the EO Business Podcast. I'm Lynn Podetti, shining the spotlight on entrepreneurs and members of EO as they share their real, raw, and remarkable journey. Today's guest is Jim Boyd, who joined EO Orange County in 2023, then later moved to EO Sydney in 2024 when he and his family decided to move to Australia. With over 25 years of experience in the IT staffing and recruiting industry, Jim took the leap in 2019 to launch his own company, Cirrus Group Consulting, specializing in cloud, cybersecurity, and AI and machine learning talent. Now, just months after launching in early 2020, the world was hit by COVID. Like many entrepreneurs, Jim had to adapt really quickly. But that wasn't the last curveball. In 2024, he made a major life move, relocating from the US to Australia with his wife and family, running a US-based business from the other side of the world. Jim had to restructure everything, bringing on senior sales talent, overhauling compensation plan, and self-implementing EOS to regain clarity and traction. In this episode, Jim shares his story of rebuilding through setbacks, the evolving world of AI and IT staffing, and what it's been like navigating both business and life in a whole new country. Now let's dive in.
This episode is sponsored by
Great design is something that improves with age, like me. And this, a lifetime guarantee. That's important. And because Mia specialises in all of these things, of course I put my name on it. Introducing the new Mia Durham Palmer range. Mia, with you for life.
Welcome to the show, Jim. So great to have you on here.
Thank you, Lynn. It's a pleasure to be with you.
Yeah, and it's so good to know that we're neighbors. We don't live far from each other.
I think you're trying to move a little bit further away from me. Or you will be.
Yeah, but Jim, it's such a great thing that in EO we get to meet people from different countries. You're actually from Orange County originally, and now you're in Sydney. And so when we met at EO, I was like, wow, you're such a cool guy. But I guess today I want to deep dive into your journey, how you got started in business, and then we'll talk about a little bit about how EO has been able to bring us together. So, Jim, why don't we start with, I guess, your journey and how you got into this recruitment industry in the first place?
Yeah, sure. So I run a staffing and recruiting industry. It's a technology-centric staffing and recruiting industry. And I have been in IT sales since like 1998. I know, surprise, I don't look it. And I got into the staffing business in 2003. And so about 17 years into the technology staffing business, I had what I think Michael Gerber, who writes this book called The E-Myth, calls an entrepreneurial seizure. You wake up, I don't know, you're like, I can do this. Why don't I just do this? And so what do? You go to your spouse, like, hey, I think I could do this. Are you cool if I do this? And she eventually said yes. And so I decided I just wanted to do it myself. And there were some things that were driving that. And for me, it was really around specialization. Like IT 20 years ago was this set of skills, and each year it grows and it gets bigger and there's more stuff. And so the firm I was working with wasn't very good at that. And so I said, I'm gonna pick a couple of spots. I want to specialize. I want to be the best at that. I presented that to them, and they said, that's a great idea. 6 months went by. They didn't do anything about it. And I said, well, then I'm gonna go start my own. And then they came and said, well, hold on, we'll create a separate company for you. You could take who you want. We'll put money in the bank. I was like, well, that's amazing, but I'm over it now. And so I left my own at the very beginning of 2020, right before COVID.
Wow. Okay. So it was, I guess, unintentionally, like you started it because I guess your current company wasn't really that supportive or got coming on board fast enough. So what was it like being an entrepreneur for the first time? Like, was it what you thought it would be? Was it easier, harder? I guess I would love to hear that.
Shocked how easy it is. I should have done this a long time. No, oh my goodness, what a slap in the face. It has been the hardest thing that I've ever enjoyed. Maybe I tell people who haven't done it, I think it's like raising kids. I mean, I have kids. I have two teenagers. you go through these stretches where it's really hard and you don't always get a lot of positive feedback, but then these things happen, right? Like you see progress, you see something you've created add tremendous value. We have staff that are really passionate about what we do, and you have that sense of pride and hopefully there's a growing money in the bank account. And so it has been shockingly hard. All the assumptions I had about running a business and I could do it, I was completely wrong. Uh, but here I am 5 years later, and we're still going, and we're growing, and we're
Yeah.
in progress.
Yeah, I mean, it's great that you kind of started in an industry and in the skill set and experience that you have had. So, was that a lot easier? Were you able to access, I guess, the talent pool that you're familiar with, or maybe some previous clients that you've been able to reach? Was it, yeah, any helpful in that
Yeah.
process?
I mean, I assume so, right? I haven't done the opposite, but I assume so. It was important to me. I worked for a competitor, and so I didn't want to take any clients or any people, and so I separated with them and then started my business. I mean, I've been thinking about it, but I didn't have any clients or anything lined up, and so that was kind of hard. But I have a big network. I was confident I could do it. That was January 2020. I hired my first recruiter in February to come join me on this venture, and then before he started, the world shut down, COVID. Hello. Uh, and so the first 6 months were just, uh-oh, right? Like, what did I do? And I had access to some capital that I had to pull down to pay some of the bills. But then the world came roaring back in 2021. The end of 2020 and 2021 were probably the most robust hiring in technology that I've seen in my 25 years in the business.
Yeah, not only have you just started a brand new business, then you got hit with this macro factor like COVID, which no one has ever expected to be. So, what made you stay resilient and go, okay, I'm going to keep going versus because I know what it's like when you're new in business, your resilience level is very low. You're like, freaking out, everything. And so, what helped you to stay focused and go, no, I can pull through this?
Well, what I'm encouraged by is it sounds like you've been doing it longer than me. It sounds like the resilience grows. Is that what you're insinuating here?
Oh, I'm just saying, starting out, 10 years ago, I was freaking out about every little thing. You're like, oh, when's the client going to come? And, as you go through it, you get a bit stronger. But I can't imagine starting new and having these, big things coming at you. Would love to see, like, I guess, what was your attitude? What was your mindset that go, no, this is something I could go.
Well, to be honest, there just wasn't a lot of alternatives, right? Like the places I work for, the larger staffing recruiting companies were laying off. No one was hiring, and so there really wasn't too many options of what to do. And the people I was talking to, the companies I was talking to, as we went into COVID, they didn't know what was going on either. But I guess there was just belief that the sky would stop falling, and it got pretty scary. Like I said, I had to take out some capital. I had a guy quit his job, come work for me. That was probably the harder part is I had to make sure he and his family were okay. And so fortunately, 6 months later, we got through it, but it was tough. I had many sleepless nights. I don't know how many times in my life I can feel my heart beating in my chest to the point that it's just distracting my thinking. That was going on during that opening stretch during COVID after I'd hired somebody. There was no business. I didn't know if there would be. Uh, it was pretty scary.
Yeah, yeah. And, talking about your specialization in IT and AI or data, has it really evolved? I mean, it just feels like in the last year or two, it's just gone blowing up, like in terms of AI. I've never heard of it until this whole ChatGPT came on. But I guess been in this industry for a long time. Like, what have you seen in terms of the trend, the changes in this space?
Yeah. The most interesting technological change since the internet showed up in the late 90s, I would say, right? And so when I started my company, we specialize in something called cloud technologies. These are your AWS, Microsoft Azure, Google Cloud platforms. They call them the hyperscalers. So it's the infrastructure people move their servers and stuff to out of a data center that they used to manage. And so that was great for 2020, 21, 22, 23. Uh, most of maybe early part of 24 because everyone was moving into a cloud infrastructure, and there's a lot that goes into kind of optimizing that. And so that was great And then, man, ChatGPT came out, and the world was already slowing because they had overhired in 21, 22, and so most of our business is in the United States. We're launching in Australia now. So it had started slowing for us in late 22, early 23 because the world had overhired. I mean, it was great previous 2 years, so it had already been slowing down. We've continued to grow. We stayed kinda nimble, so we've continued to grow. And then when ChatGPT came out, I think the first few months, everyone's like, "Well, this is cute. It's cool. It's fun." And then, months later, it's like, "Hold on. I think I can use this in my company." And that has progressed to today. And yes, it's a busy world, but there's a significant challenge for us in that companies still don't know what they're going to do because if this technology can solve for this or make that more efficient, I'm going to focus over here. But they're still figuring that out. And so we have to be kind of flexible and stay close to our clients to kind of follow. And there's been a lot of lessons learned and a lot of money invested that hasn't worked out. And so we just have to stay close, and we're still to some extent waiting to see what are those consistent use cases and business practices that people are going to deploy AI for, and then where does that leave the rest of their IT organization and their data specifically, right? That the data feeds all this. And just as a quick aside, the big thing, literally 6 months ago, you had to have organized, structured, centralized, compliant data for an AI model to run. And that's still largely true, but the AI models are getting better that they can go organize and get the data themselves. They say, right, like this is just shifting so rapidly. And so s- keeping tabs on it's been challenging, but fortunately, there's plenty of other little projects that are ancillary to that we
Yeah.
involve.
And with such a specialized skill set, is it very challenging in your space to find the right talent? Why do your clients come to you? Is it because they can't find it themselves? And how easy is it for you to actually tell which developer actually knows their stuff?
Yeah. Well, I think I might hire you for our sales team because those are great leaders. Well, absolutely. So my recruiters and I, since we are specialized, we're very technical. That's kind of our thing is our embracing of the technology and our passion around it. And so, yes, when you have a more senior role, a more complex role, a more cutting edge role with things you're implementing, integrating, and it's going to have a big impact on the organization. And a bad hire will hurt. They Our clients come to us, and conversely, because those are very difficult people to find. Most of the time, they're not looking for a job. They're good at what they do. These are niche skill sets, and so they don't have their open to looking for a job on LinkedIn. They're not posted their resume. They're not talking to their friends, but they just don't love where they are. Right? These are passive candidates, and so we have a very strict methodology where we go out and we identify what does our profile look like, what type of companies have they worked for, what kind of roles have they had, what kind of technologies should be in their stack, and once we have these profiles, we go out and we start with a large group and we start messaging them and going back and forth and whittling our way down. So yes, that is why our clients come to us is ability to find those people.
And their salary would be going up and up. I heard even places like overseas, Philippines would be very expensive now. I can't imagine what it's like in Australia or America. Like, what have you seen in the movement of, staffing?
Yeah, well, it's a great question. So in 20 again, I hate to in 2021, 2022, hiring for IT engineers, architects went through the roof, and people were doubling their salaries, and I've never seen that in my time in the business. But literally 100 to 150K people were making 200 to 250K plus sign-on bonuses, equity, you name it. I mean, it was a crazy time. And since then, so the last year, those salaries have all been coming down. As you leave or get laid off from company A, where you've been for 2, 3 years, you go back into the market, you're probably going to make less. And so the trend has been the IT engineers are coming back to kind of where they were 3, 4 years ago. But here comes AI. And now if you're an AI whiz and you can implement multiple large language models and you can put some algorithms and some machine learning on top of that, and maybe there's some other technologies, you can have another 50K plus to your salary now. So the two forces, right? The market is pushing salaries back down to where they were a few years ago, but AI is pushing them back up. So if you're on the AI train, you're okay.
Yeah, I love that. Okay, so talking about on the train, you went from the US, not on the train, but to Australia. Tell us a little bit about why you decided to do that, and I guess how did that impact your business, running a business, an American business, but in Australia, dealing with clients over there. What does your daily day look like?
Yeah, I get up early. One of the things that you notice I'm in my 50s now, I've been working with a lot of the same people, clients, and candidates for 20 plus years. And people hit something at this stage of life when they hit their 50s that we all call a midlife crisis. And what I see is a lot of midlife career crises, which are people who are very good at what they do. They're successful in what they do typically. It just doesn't excite them anymore. But they're a little bit trapped because this is what they're known for. This is what they're good at. This is what they get paid for, but they don't like it. And so I think uh, my wife went through something similar, and this is why I started my company. I went through it. And my wife hit that point. She goes, I don't want to do my job anymore. She is Australian. I met her in Washington, D.C. when she worked at the embassy. We made our way to California. And when we hit that mark, she said, I don't love my job anymore. And so she quit her job. And some months later, she still wasn't where she necessarily wanted to be in life, and so she decided moving to Australia, back home for her, fair enough, it'd been 23 years, was what she wanted to do, and so my teenagers and I supported her and ripped them out of high school, and we moved to Sydney, Australia. We got the chance to meet you.
Yeah. And then how did you, I guess, transition with your business? Knowing moving yourself is one thing. Did anything change and did any preparation that needed to be made?
Yeah, if I could give any advice, if you're gonna marry a spouse from another country, find one close to your time zone as best you can, right? Don't go this way. And so, yeah, that's been very challenging. I mean, it's a 10-hour time difference from the US East Coast where we do most of our work. And so that was tough. I had to break it to my team. My team, wait, what's going on? And so I had to tweak some of their comp plans. I had to tweak some of their goals. I challenged them to take on a little bit more, but created some incentives for them to be successful there. I was our biggest sales guy. I had to go out and hire a capable, a really senior capable salesperson to pick up the slack for what we would lose from me. That has gone pretty as well as I think we could have hoped. Um, and then I had to get a CRM and I had to build a sales process. That wasn't really something we had focused on. So HubSpot, we built a sales process. 1 year later, I just hired a consultant to help speed that up and improve that. That's not really where I wanted to be. And then at the same time, about 6 months ago, maybe 6 to 9 months ago, we started EOS, Entrepreneur
Mhm.
Operating System. And that has had a big impact on our ability to get clear on where we're going and what are the things quarter to quarter to get us there.
Yeah. So was your company already remote? And even though of course you're physically over there, but was it remote already? So then when you moved here, everyone was kind of working from home, or was it in an office?
Yeah, we were already remote. I've got staff all over the globe. I've got mostly in the US, but I've got recruiters in India, Pakistan, and some folks in El Salvador. So, yeah, I know you embrace that, international support model. But, so we were already remote, so we were used to that. The time zone was a shift. My main support lady who runs my operations, she moved her time. She was super gracious. She works 10 to 7 now instead of this whenever she used to work. So, people had to make some adjustments, but they've been great.
Yeah. Well, that's interesting because you've got people America, you're Australia, you've got people in Pakistan. I guess very, very broad range of time zone. How do you deal with, I guess, team collaboration or catching up together? Yeah, how do
Yeah.
you run your meetings?
Yeah, it's an evolving thing. Technology's been great. So for my daily stand-ups from my recruiting team, they like to do it in the morning, but it's recorded and it's transcribed, and I get a summary of those meetings every single morning. We have culture days every week, so we spend 30 to 60 minutes every week getting together on a video call, and we do trivia, we play games, we do different contests, we give awards and prizes. And so just to have fun and be with each other, and we get on, and I'm very intentional about who's on what team. And so um, try to create a virtual culture connection as best we can.
Yeah. Yeah, great. So you mentioned before you were the main sales guy, and now you're not even there anymore. Has your role changed? Are you still sales, but like online, or has your role really changed because you've hired all these people to to take over some of your previous role?
Yeah, that's been pretty challenging because I've been in the space for so long, and I have a tremendous network. And it's not very easy to hand off a network to someone else, right? The loyalty is to you. And so I still try and sell when I can. It's tough when the time zone shift, right? So the US and Australia just went through a time zone shift. So my 10-hour difference now to the East Coast was 8 hours a few weeks ago. So now this 6 month stretch is when it's really hard. And I'm hiring another salesperson, right? That's first. As soon as I saw the time zone shifting, I'm like, gotta get another salesperson. So we're hiring another one as efficiently as we can. And yeah, I'm doing more of the EOS stuff. I'm thinking about the business. I'm thinking about maybe longer term where we're going, problems we want to solve. And I spend a lot of time with our existing clients, just really trying to pinpoint where are we gonna add value to them, right? And so I love doing that. That's my favorite thing. But we all miss me being able to do more sales. So to solve for that, I am going through a process to do business here in Australia. So I would like to bring our systems and capabilities here so I could go out and just preach about what we do and solve problems in our space, which is why I get it.
Yeah. Well, tell me more about your, I guess, goal to expanding in Australia. Like, what has been the first process? Like, are you just researching, or you're thinking about hiring? Like, I guess if someone is thinking about bringing that model, bringing whatever it is to a new place, what has been some of the first few steps that you've taken?
Yeah, no, it's a great question because what we do, like, I guess you always want to systematize better what you do, and you want a great process that is followed and be the McDonald's of your industry, and it's just the same product everywhere. But that's kind of hard. And so what I recognized was really trying to systematize, I guess use the same word, what we do so that I could replicate it here and really look at what are the key pieces. And I found a lot of things that I think we could improve on. And so we're improving on those now. And the AI tools, man, and it's exhausting trying to understand which one to use on what day. But there's some really fantastic things that we're exploring that we can do with some of the AI tools, like everybody. And so we're really trying to define all of that so that I can replicate that here. We have a client in the US that has operations here, and they actually asked us if we could help them here. And so what a great driver to do that. Getting set up now, there's a bunch of steps to get registered in a new country, and Australia is no different. If you get certified as a director, you don't have to do that in the US. You can just run a business. So working it's certified as a director, I need a tax number first. All those things are underway. Got my tax number yesterday. All that is in motion. But you're really defining what you do, and then, yes, I will want a recruiter here. I'll start looking as soon as we get the salesperson in the US, so hopefully in the next 4 weeks.
Yeah, exciting.
And see what this market's like.
Yeah, really, really exciting. So looking back, in 2020, you brand new into entrepreneurship. Describe yourself back then as a leader versus now. How do you feel like you've evolved in the last 5 years?
Yeah, and I'd been a leader for years prior to that. I was in executive leadership for different companies. Um, I think I was a lot cockier then, to be honest, right? Like, I knew what I do, and then when you get in and it's yourself and you just feel like every day was learning things I didn't know, or learning I was realizing things I didn't know. And I think I've actually, for myself, come to be more kind of collaborative with my team, trust them a little bit more. And EOS has been a big help with that, putting like everything out there and working together and trusting people to leverage their strengths. But I'm probably a little more uh, collaborative and a little more understanding of my own strengths and weaknesses. And that's been a fun-ish growth journey.
Yeah, no, that's great. You always have to have this beginner's mindset so we can learn. There's a quote. I think the more you know, the more you realize you don't know. Right, something along that line.
Yeah.
Well, this leads me to, I guess, the journey in EO. How did you discover EO? How long have you been at EO? And other than meeting an awesome person here, What other awesome thing have you discovered from EO?
Yeah. So when I started the business, I started listening to podcasts. Well, I started listening to entrepreneurial podcasts. And a couple of times I heard this EO mentioned. No idea what it was. I just heard it. And so I have this massive task list, short term, medium, long term. And my long term task was explore EO. And of course, that sits months, years at a time. You don't even look at it. And for some reason, I pulled up my long term tasks, 30, 50, 70 tasks. I'm like, oh, what did I think of a year ago? And explore EO. Like, I didn't remember. Like, what is this? Like, oh, it's a I heard on podcast. I do a Google search, EO chapters. It's an entrepreneur. It's something. There's a chapter in Orange County where I lived. So I reached out. I got invited to a social event for new members. And to me, it was like almost being back in a fraternity house in the United States where I went to college. In Australia, you don't have fraternities and sororities, and sororities. I'm sorry for that. And so, but the people were so friendly, they were so engaged, and I said, "Well, what do you guys do?" And they were telling me the different things that they did together. They had had dinner blindfolded. They had done some sensory deprivation, something else, ice bucket, something. They did this breathing exercise where they all held their breath for like 5 minutes. What? I thought, is this an adventure club or is it a business kind of owners thing? And like, well, it's all the above, but what really struck out at me was how much fun they were having, and everyone has this kind of adventurous spirit, I guess, as a business owner. And so I joined right away, and I was in the EO Orange County for about a year and made tremendous friends, tremendous support. That as I talked about when I first started the business, those nights where your heart is pounding through your chest, you're not sure if you got enough money to get to a certain spot, are real kind of scary moments. And to be around people who have been through that, who go through that, who are there for you and can collaborate with you is just an experience that was so helpful for me. And I transferred to Sydney, Australia a year ago. I met you and lots of other people here in Sydney. Same thing. And what a amazing network to have moving to an entirely new country. So couldn't be
Yeah.
grateful for the experience I've had, the people I've met, and helping me move to another country.
Yeah. And what made you go, okay, even though I'm moving, I'm so busy. Yeah, sometimes people go, I'm so busy, I need a pause, I just need a break. And yet you're like, hang on, I need the EO Sydney crowd and I need to make my network. But what was your approach with that?
Because how I know how else I'd meet people, right? Like, I'll meet the kids, the parents on my kids' soccer team, maybe, but I just love the dynamic, and I've enjoyed the topics that they bring up in EO. I mean, for people who don't know, they work on your business, but you work on yourself a lot too. And so, just how to be a better person, a better leader. All those things are just tremendous growth things as a human. And so, I wanted that, and the connections are fantastic, and it was important to me
Yeah.
to join.
So just curious, you've been working all your life and you eventually started your business. Has your definition of success changed? I know for myself, it used to be just all about money. I just want to be the richest person. And then I realized that money didn't solve everything for me. And then so it's different for me now. But I was just curious to, hear your journey and what you've discovered about what does success mean now for you?
Yeah, no, it's a great question, Lynn. Um, I read a book recently, and it'll The Gap in the Game. I think Sullivan and yet, and this was 6 to 12 months ago, and that really had an impact on me. In that I paused and looked at my life, not and yes, I mean I set this goal here and I don't hit it, and so I set it there and I don't hit it, and I beat myself up, and round and round we go for many years. And what that book helped me to do was just what's really important in life. And let's look at, simple things like I can work anywhere in the world I want and still run a successful business. Well, that's cool, right? Your family's healthy and happy, right? I live at a beach town down here. Within 5 minutes, I'm walking on the ocean here in Cronulla, and I take my boogie board with me, and that I can walk and go boogie boarding. I go mountain biking, down in Wollongong and up in northern areas of Sydney, and so I have changed is the answer, and the book was very helpful for me to just think about other things in life that are important. And so I still want to run a business. I still have revenue goals. I still have profit goals. I still have income goals for myself. But I go easier on myself on that, and weight some of these other things in life a little more.
Great. Yeah, I love that book too because it allows you to remember to think about what you're grateful for, what you actually have. Whereas entrepreneurs, we're always so ambitious that we're always seeing the gap, right? That's where the gap and the gain is. So yeah, that book was really, really great. Well, this leads me to understanding, I guess, with everything that you're trying to do, you're working hard and you're trying to set all these goals. What do you ultimately want to be remembered for? What impact do you want to leave in this world?
Oh, in the world, huh? Well, for me, the business is really bad. So it's a technology staffing and recruiting firm. There's 20,000 staffing and recruiting firms in the US. I'm sure there's some thousands here in Australia as well. What gets me out of bed in the morning is really driving a successful hire. And that is really hard to do, but it has such a tremendous impact on organizations. I'm writing an article now. Typically, it's anywhere from to 15 times someone's salary turnover is the cost of turnover. And so, you people have this process where you spend, I don't know, 1 to 3 hours talking to somebody and multiple people talk to them, decide to make them an offer and put all this money in to train them and bring them on board. And if it doesn't work out, you go back and you start over. And it is so painful, not, to organizations, obviously the cost is tremendous, to the individuals who it doesn't work out. And so in being in this for so long, I'm really taking on for me and my company, like, how are we going to be successful? We're just really going to every day try to get a little percent closer to solving that for our clients and our candidates. And so, I guess to answer your question, being a good dad and husband and neighbor and community member, whatever, but really helping the business world get better at understanding people and connections and the right fit, so that when they hire, both the organization and the individual are in a better spot. I think is what I'm going for.
Yeah, I love that. And I truly understand what it's like when you match make the perfect fit. It's almost like, they found love with each other and that they're gonna thrive. And it's a really amazing when you see that perfect puzzle fit. But thank you so much, Jim, for your time today. I've learned so much and I thoroughly enjoy hanging out with you outside of EO as well. So thank you for everything that you do, and I'll make sure to put all your details in the description below in the YouTube video.
Well, thank you. I know you run a business, set events for us, run podcasts, run a family, like you got a lot going on, and it's people like you that are so inspiring in EO that motivate the rest of us.
Thank you. Bye, Jim.
All right.